This is Russell Dobular sitting in for Jimmy Dore, who will be in Denver on May 11th. Go to jimmydore.com for tickets. I have my partner there, Mr. Keaton Weiss, sitting in.
Hi there.
And joining us is the man, the legend, Max Blumenthal, is an award-winning journalist as well as the editor-in-chief and founder of the independent investigative news website, The Grayzone. He's also the best-selling author of several books, including Goliath, The 51-Day War, and The Management of Savagery. Please welcome Mr. Max Blumenthal. Welcome, Max.
Good to see you guys.
Good seeing you. You know, every day you don't get garroted by the Mossad makes me feel more confident they're never going to come for me. So
when they do, when they do, it'll be like they'll hire a gay Puerto Rican guy named Richie Torres to do it.
Well, yeah. Well, we're working with his opponent. Yeah. We're working with his opponent, Jose Vega, who's challenging him as an independent.
That'll be fun.
So this was something you chimed in on this week. Police clear 100 protesters from pro-Palestinian encampment at Northeastern University. And this is another one of these stories we're seeing this week. I call it Attack of the Cry Bullies. You had the woman who went and made a fool out of herself with her I Am a Jew t-shirt that everyone promptly ignored. We had the woman who claimed to be stabbed in the eye. And this week you had basically a false flag operation. So we'll just read a little bit of this. In the second dramatic sweep of a college campus in Boston this week, police cleared a pro-Palestinian encampment at Northeastern University early Saturday, detaining around 100 people. But the police operation gave way to a roiling debate over the origin of an anti-Semitic statement that was shouted among the gathering, which included at least 2 counter-demonstrators holding a flag of Israel before officers moved in and dismantled the encampment. In a statement released at 8:30 a.m. Saturday, Northeastern said the professional organizers with no affiliation to the university had co-opted the demonstration. Northeastern also said virulent anti-Semitic slurs, including "kill the Jews," were heard. Student groups involved in the encampment and a peace activist organization said one of the counter-protesters who was not involved in the demonstration had shouted "kill the Jews," and that Northeastern had incorrectly blamed the pro-Palestinian demonstrators for the statement to justify the police action. All right, so this is Max here. Northeastern University crushed an anti-genocide protest because someone was heard shouting "kill the Jews." At 10 seconds, it is clear a pro-Israel counter-protester holding an Israeli flag was the one who uttered that phrase. Yet another Zionist hate crime hoax. So let's see, watch closely. You can see the person shout those words.
Mic check! Mic check! That means you repeat to me what I say to you, got it?
Got it!
Okay.
Kill the Jews. Anybody on board? Anybody on board?
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone who's never been to one of these protests, if you don't understand what's happening here, a lot of times they're not allowed to have amplification. So what they do is the speaker speaks and everyone repeats their words. That's why she's saying mic check. That's to get everybody unified to repeat their words so the word will go out to everybody. So what they were trying to do is insert "kill the Jews" into that as if that had come from her. You want to say anything, Max?
Well, you could even tell from the voice. It was just the unmistakable, quintessential voice of a Jewish. Jewish.
Well, you two, this one is not
like "kill the Jews." Go on board with that.
Well, you and Aaron, we covered that on Friday. Actually, you covered these guys in cafes who were clearly Jews. Yes, it's going to be October 7th 1,000 times over.
No, they said never forget the 7th of October.
Yeah,
the 7th of October.
He's like, oh my. I'm going to sneeze. I need some Claritin.
These
Where's my allergy medicine? I need my inhaler. I'm yelling too much.
They're not only the only Jews who are not funny, they're some of the only Jews who are not smart. Like, they're dumb, too. They're not just unfunny. They're stupid. Like, all they have is their violence. That's the only tool they have. Yeah.
Zionists destroy the stereotype of superior Jewish intelligence and sense of humor.
Exactly.
They're undermining the chosen people trope.
Yeah.
Israelis just like their humor is like the Palestinian baby is under 3 floors of a building. Ho 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 ho. like they don't even understand Seinfeld jokes.
Right? No.
When he goes to Israel, he has to be like, "What is the deal with Palestinian civilians? They're just always there whenever the bomb falls. Why don't they go somewhere else?"
Got to really dumb down the act. Yeah.
All right. So
Pop-Tart humor forget it. Way too much. His movie's
anyway,
not
that's another hate crime hoax. Got 100 people arrested. And I don't know. Do you have the university administration statement at hand?
I a little bit of it. All right. So let's just watch.
I mean, they acknowledged that it was like a hoax, and they still justified arresting everyone.
And they said it was a crazy state. We'll get to it. So
it was a self-deprecating joke, right?
That means you repeat to me what I say to you. Got it?
Got it! Okay. Kill the Jews. Anybody on board? Anybody on board? Yeah. You just chanted for it. You just chanted for it.
Yeah, and the actual protesters are booing.
We're gonna let them leave. We're gonna let them leave. We're gonna give them a bomb. We're gonna let them leave. We're gonna let them leave. Everybody got it? All hail, honorable leader, Qatari government, who's paying our bills, Qatari government. All hail the Qatari government, who pays our bills and pays our protests.
He's holding an Israeli flag.
Yep.
Like the what do we want? When do we want it? Now! You just called Intifada! You just called Intifada! What do we want? Ceasefire!
So, and this is something else. This fucking genius starts talking about how they're funded by Qatar when there are stories everywhere about how Qatar was actually acting as the bagman go-between for Netanyahu and Hamas. They're trying to scapegoat. It was the Israeli finance minister who was on Morning Joe who started trying to deflect to Qatar when he was being confronted. So this is one of their talking points right now. Max?
Yeah, well, the head of the ADL has accused them of being funded by Iran. Nancy Pelosi has accused them of being funded by Russia and China. It's basically the whole axis of evil.
Right.
They can't decide who is behind all this.
Whatever's convenient that day.
But, you know, obviously they're not kicking in a lot of money because, I mean, look at that. There's like a few tents and, you know, they would have fancier masks. They should have like, you know, like high level gas masks.
Yeah. Where's all that oil money going? Shortly after 11 a.m., Northeastern issued another statement addressing the remark. The statement didn't address who was responsible for shouting the phrase, and cited the Boston Globe as reporting that a person yelled the remark on campus. Okay, so this is what you were referring to, and it's insane. It's an insane formulation. Quote, the fact that the phrase "killed the Jews" was shouted on our campus is not in dispute. The Boston Globe, a trusted news organization, reported it as fact. There is also substantial video evidence. Any suggestion that repulsive anti-Semitic comments are sometimes acceptable, depending on the context, is reprehensible. That language has no place on any university campus. Thank you, Renata. So this is the VP of Communications. So this is Cole Moran. This is an insane way to admit your final straw for arresting protesters was something they didn't do. Like that is just nuts. So yes, somebody said it as a false flag to get you to do exactly what you did. Max?
Yeah, the fact that somebody said it is all we need to shut this down.
Right.
is a pretty insane PR maneuver. I've never seen anything like that, to be honest. And it just shows how craven and dishonest these university administrators are. Northeastern University rakes in tons of money from pro-Israel funders. Trying to think of the guy's name. There's a statue honoring him on campus. And he funds like a lot of Islamophobic groups, anti-Palestinian groups, some of the most extremist groups. And I mean, that's really what this all comes down to. That's why that statement had to be made. They were looking for some pretext to arrest all the students. They're arresting them for speech, even if someone had said kill the Jews. That would not provide sufficient grounds for arresting them under the Constitution, because hate speech is protected.
Right. And the person they didn't arrest was the person who said it. That person's actually not been arrested. So it just seems like this is really exposing a generation to the reality of the system that they're a part of. I keep making the comparison, as many people do, to the Vietnam era. I think there was a similar cognitive dissonance between this post-war vision that the boomers had been fed of America's on the side of the right, and then they see peasants being bombed in Vietnam. They see segregated lunch counters in the South, and the divide between what they've been told America is just too great. Do you feel like that's what's happening now?
You know, the parallel to the Vietnam War is it brings up some interesting issues. The donor, by the way, that I had mentioned before is on the board of trustees at Northeastern University. His name is Robert Shillman. He's funded the David Horowitz Freedom Center. He's funded AIPAC, the Zionist Organization of America. He runs the gamut of major Israel funders, and he is on the board of trustees, and he is calling the shots. The police answer to him, and he is a cutout of the Israeli government. That's essentially what's going on here. I mean, one of the key differences here between what we saw during the Vietnam era protests and what these students are doing, which actually speaks to the kind of ideological or political purity of these students' motives, is that none of them are being drafted.
Right.
None of them have any real skin in the game. They're just doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. During the Vietnam era, we saw middle-class American youth organize partly because it was their asses on the line. And a lot of them, when they went into positions of influence, wound up aligning themselves against these students, supporting the pro-war Democratic Party, and turning on everything they professed to believe during the Vietnam era. That's why the Democratic Party is the party of war under the control of the baby boom generation that opposed the Vietnam War. So what we're seeing here is a lot different. But we're going to see some of the same political divisions play out with the youthful base of the Democratic Party, or what the Democrats take for granted as their progressive base, refusing to just go along with Genocide Joe. In about 2 weeks, all these protests are going to end no matter what the police do, because the semester ends, summer begins. There's no point in holding your ground there. So everything's going to have to go to Chicago, to the Democratic Convention, and the symbolism of 1968 in Chicago and 2024 in Chicago is unmistakable.
And what do you think happens in September when they all have to go back to campus? Like, I've been thinking about this. Like, how does this not just turn you off to the whole thing? How do you even go back after something like this?
Yeah, a lot of them won't be. I mean, yeah, we're witnessing.
Well, they're threatening to suspend them now, right?
But
whether they suspend them or not,
the model of the kind of neoliberal university campus that's essentially controlled by billionaires is being discredited. All the institutions of the kind of post-war liberal democracy created in the US, which were hollowed out after the abandonment of the New Deal and the Great Society in the 1990s, they're all being discredited, whether it's corporate media, which was consolidated in the 1990s when Bill Clinton deregulated media, to the university campus itself, to Congress, which is the only institution, I think, with a lower approval rating than the media in America. And so these students, I mean, why are they on campus if they're not there for pre-professional reasons? They don't want to go into business management. They're not conformists. What are they going to get out of it?
Right.
Why do they need to go into debt? Student debt is not going to be repaid. Americans' debt is out of control. For the first time, we're seeing credit card debt among Americans exceed $1 trillion. None of these students, except ones with inherited wealth, will be able to buy homes with interest rates the way they are, let alone groceries with inflation rates the way they are. And so why do you want to be saddled with massive amounts of loans that you have to pay back at insane interest rates when you're treated like crap on campus and you feel like you're being occupied by a foreign apartheid state and you're being brutalized? And now students at University of Texas are being pepper sprayed for protesting a genocide. What is the point?
So do you think you'll see a mass wave of withdrawals from these universities?
I mean, I'm surprised they're still standing after what they did during the COVID event.
Right.
I think it's still, we'll see some kind of alternative to the Ivy League structure and the neoliberal structure of universities where you're paying like $80,000 a year to some university and you stay on campus and you're suddenly not allowed to access your own dorm that you rented because of your political views. Some alternative is going to have to be created. And we see libertarians trying to create an alternative to the university. We don't see anyone from the progressive left doing it, but I think it's kind of a lesson here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Max, just Jimmy Dore from the Jimmy Dore Show. Max, who do you even consider on the progressive left anymore? I honestly don't know what these labels mean anymore. I've heard people say this, but every day it's worse and worse. What is left? People on the left, the people who I know who consider themselves on the left have been for every fucking war in my lifetime. They were for Libya, Afghanistan, Syria. They're for Ukraine. And finally the Young Turks found a war they couldn't stomach, which was Gaza. I mean, they're for censorship. They're for forced medical experiments being performed on people, or they can't. What the fuck makes any of those people left? What? None of those people. I'm talking, Cornel West and everybody who supports them. They're not left.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the left like I think about something that plays on a classic rock radio.
Like, they're going to be phased out with top 40 soon.
They're the stairway to heaven.
What's on
of
classic rock
movements.
now is the music of my youth, so that I didn't listen to at the time. But yeah, I mean, you think about like the greatest hits of the progressive left in the US, and it's kind of like there are people coasting on the novelty of past social struggles. However, this is something significant that has international credibility that's spreading across the country. You can't call it right wing. So I don't know what you want to call it. And a lot of the right wingers who hate what's going on these campuses are just hating on it on the basis of aesthetics.
Yes.
That like some of these the students are wearing masks and they have like, some of them have purple hair or whatever. They look woke. They say woke stuff. They're not even interrogating whether they're right or not. So they're playing into the same, they're playing into the same politicization that the left did during the COVID event when they branded anyone who protested mandates and lockdowns as right-wingers, as fascists, as Nazis, and then failed to even interrogate whether the vaccine actually works, what the social consequences of the lockdowns would be. So the hypocrisy of the right is being exploded right now. If you want to even call it the right, I don't know what to call it. Well, the America First movement. If you're for America First, why are you supporting giving billions and billions of dollars a year to a foreign apartheid entity 5,000 miles away, which is the country that spies on the United States more than any other country, which during the Trump administration was exposed for planting listening devices near the White House? which is just paying off members of Congress to ship our tax dollars to this foreign entity. I don't know how that's America first. If you are for free speech, as Elon Musk claims to be, why are you removing the Twitter account of Nelson Mandela's grandson as soon as he boards the flotilla from Turkey to Gaza? Why are you retweeting Benjamin Netanyahu, a foreign leader, calling for the U.S. federal government to stage a Kent State-style repression of these students? That's not free speech. So, I mean, we're just seeing so much. We've seen so much hypocrisy from the left on COVID, on supporting the pro-war Democrats up until October 7th. And since October 7th, I feel like we're back in the Bush era, like the good old Bush era.
Yeah, it's coming back. You could see they're bringing it back,
yeah.
like how reversing course on MCU movie. They're gonna. It's like they burned out the fake left, and now I can already see the setup because Trump went all in on that, giving money to.
Yes.
And a bunch of other weird shit. So what that means is the fake left, the eagle has two wings, and with the fake left and right, battle it out. And the powers will be go, okay, we're switching to this format. The station's switching format. So get ready for, and after I heard Joey Diaz say that Mariel Boatleff thing, because he was a guy from Cuba.
Right.
That's Venezuela. So everybody's coming here. Remember how Miami had that problem with drugs? We're going to have that, and it's going to be an 80s boom time.
I kill a communist for
that's what
fun.
It's going to be. And that's what 2030 is going to be all about. It's going to be, we had a last-minute format change to like a new Reagan kind of thing. I'll bet you that's what's planned.
All right.
You mentioned that this movement now has international credibility, and I think you're absolutely right. I think it does. In terms of the left maintaining that, I think when AOC showed up to that campus, they should have said she's not welcome there. I'm
100%.
sorry. Anybody who's going to go and shill for Joe Biden this summer and this fall is not welcome on this campus right now. We don't need your help. Thank you. Go fuck yourself. That's what they should say, because otherwise the movement will be co-opted just like every other left anti-war movement has been co-opted. Like, she's there to make it known that it's okay to oppose genocide, but still vote for Genocide Joe.
Yes.
That's the purpose she serves by going there, is to give permission to everybody who's appalled by what's going on to say, yeah, we know we're appalled by it, but we can still vote for Joe Biden in November. And I think she should have been not forcibly kicked out, but she should have been told she's not welcome there. And anybody who's going to support Joe Biden this November should not be welcome in these protests. That's my opinion. What do you think?
She's so under the control of House leadership, including AIPAC stooge Hakeem Jeffries and Speaker Emeritus Nancy Pelosi, that there's no way she didn't go there without some kind of strategic directive from them and from the Biden White House immediately after meeting Biden and making this Faustian bargain with him to get the Climate Corps funded
the picture
in exchange for supporting someone she accused of genocide 2 days before. So I completely agree. And the Democrats are masters of co-opting social movements. That's what they did with BLM. They dumped in tons of foundation money from Soros and the Ford Foundation. And they just basically paid everyone to go home after they got what they wanted out of it, which was to kind of like destabilize the country under Trump. And that didn't lead to any real reforms that I can see.
There's a new stripe on the gay flag. What are you talking about? There's a black stripe on the gay flag.
That's true. It got more colorful.
Okay, so I think
the flag that I see everywhere in DC, where people who work for the arms industry,
now black is a gender.
They're very oppressed. They're very oppressed at Lockheed Martin with their float in the Pride Parade.
Hey, come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado, May 11th, Los Angeles, California, doing a live panel show with a celebrity panel and video. Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, with Max Blumenthal, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Chicago, Illinois, with another celebrity panel, live video show in Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.